Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I think we're live.
Yep.
Cool. All right, well, thanks to all of you. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to join us for this most important topic of discussion, which I'm sure every college student is chomping at the bit to hear about. And I say that with a little sarcasm, but also a little bit of hope, hopefully, as well. My name is Tim Beist. I work in the health and wellness industry. I work with a series of independent health providers who provide a nutrition and weight loss program in their clinics. And to help support an article that I think is important that we're putting on our website at myweightclinic.com, I'm having a discussion with some current or recent college graduates who have dealt firsthand with the subject of this call, which is how can we eat healthy in college, or at least healthier in college. I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on one second.
Okay.
You guys still all hear me good?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I know why. Hold on one second. So there's a live broadcast page that I had in the background, so it was just like repeating back everything I just said to me. Sorry about that. So I'm hoping to just get some real hands-on feedback. You know, what's the reality on a college campus? I'm going into a lot of different subjects in this article of how we can avoid some of what modern science is telling us about how to have a diet that's going to keep you healthy, avoid diabetes, avoid obesity, avoid the freshman 15. So I guess I just would like to hear from each of you first to say kind of what was your experience in college, and you know what were you think were the biggest issues that either set you up for failure or maybe that wasn't the situation for you. So I guess we can start from my right, which I believe is Vanessa, and go work our way over.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Vanessa Cavarenge, and I graduated from college, Mount Holyoke College, in 2014, the fall. And that's where Sharon, Michelle, and I met. And so we've had a lot of experiences eating together, ranting about how much we need to lose weight, gaining weight. I think the beginning, it started out well with healthy eating habits. I just, made an effort to go to the gym more, but the problem became the more actively involved I became on campus, the less time I scheduled to go to the gym, and the more all-nighters I pulled, stayed up late, snacking, college parties, like drinking, things like that, and not flushing it out with the water, and the sodium really got to me. So I probably in college have probably gained about 30 pounds, I would say, throughout the duration of college, and most of it was senior year just because of stress and unhealthy eating habits, late night eating habits. I'd say that mostly did, yeah.
Do you think it was more the schedule and the structure of things, or was it the environment of what was around you in terms of food choices? I mean, I'm sure both. I mean, you seem to focus more on the chaos of the schedule a little bit, and that maybe that's more of an issue than being able to get access to healthy food choices.
Absolutely. So I feel like a lot of campuses, and Sarah can speak to a different type of campus better than I can.
Yeah, for sure.
At Mount Holyoke, where we went to a small liberal arts college, food was a huge thing. We had milk and cookies. It was this tradition. So literally, you'd have desserts at night for people to snack on, and like the muffins. And Mount Holyoke was great at the pastries, and we had things called dessert dilemma. It was just like this huge food culture, which Michelle and Sharon also know about, and Sarah's experience as well. The thing to do at Mount Holyoke is eat, and that's not something that is unique to Mount Holyoke. So it's definitely a combination of both. The scheduling, I just think it became harder to do. The busier I got, it became harder to consciously think about, okay, well, have I gotten in enough fiber? Am I eating enough vegetables like throughout the week instead of just the carbs? Because they're
Right.
so easy to grab.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good. Who's next? Sharon?
Oh, see, on mine, I'm like all the way on the right, so I assumed I was
Oh,
the
okay.
end.
Sorry.
I would agree with a lot of what Vanessa said. I had an interesting experience in the sense that I was at Mount Holyoke for 2 years, and then I transferred to Brandeis, and the situations with food there were extremely different from one another in the sense that, as Vanessa said, Mount Holyoke was very good at pastries. But at Brandeis, I was a little lucky in the sense that I got more variety. I felt often at Mount Holyoke, one of the biggest struggles wasn't just desserts, but also the meals that they served us were just very heavy on like the carbs and the breads and not really a lot of protein. I was really lacking protein in my diet when I was at Mount Holyoke, whereas at Brandeis, like thankfully I like had access to like a salad bar that was decent and not like the worst you could find at a college. Um, but even at Brandeis, though, I definitely still struggled trying to eat healthy. I would say mostly because of the chaotic schedule that Vanessa was referring to, especially as the years went on and academics got tougher because you weren't just taking intro classes anymore. You were starting to write like honors essays and theses and stuff. You kind of just took whatever was closest to you, and sometimes the easier things were either the cookies or just having a sandwich or making some toast. At least at my school, when I tried to get something in between classes or I was going through a hectic study phase, for instance, we had little cafes all over campus, and all those cafes were like centered. It was Dunkin' Donuts and Einstein, so they were really big on the bagels. So that was always
Oh,
a
yeah.
thing, getting like a bagel sandwich or a bagel with peanut butter, and I loved it, but it obviously was not the best for my diet. I think that's what I would mostly have to say about that. I'd be interested to hear what Michelle has to say about Mount Holyoke, if it's any different.
That's interesting, and that's one of the things that I think is important to make everyone aware is that there is a pretty broad variation from one school to the next. And some schools are touting their cafeterias for all the access to vegetables and stuff, and the other ones, like the one you just mentioned, is more proud of the pastries and other dessert culture that it puts together. And it's part of it is a cultural issue that you have to figure out a way to manage, and so I think that's something that it's just weird. Seems like that for that to be a factor, but really it actually should be a factor when you go and weigh your options for college and where you're going to go. What kind of good food choices you're going to have access to. And I know where I went to school too, the restaurants were everywhere. It was just like, oh yeah, Little Caesars, Taco Bell, everything. It's right in your face, and it just sort of you start developing these habits in college, and it just continues right on into your career. So,
Yeah.
Sarah, what is your experience?
Okay, so I went to the University of South Florida, and that's a huge college in Tampa, and I lived on campus because it was mandatory for first years to live on campus. So it was really bad because they had just built these dorms where they had the dining hall right downstairs, they had the laundry room downstairs, everything was in that building. So we literally did not have to leave for anything. So that was really, really difficult because, like, my school has a lot of variety as far as foods go. So I think it was just, like, consciously just picking up and grabbing what was the easiest thing to grab and just bringing it to your room to study. My first roommate, I think it was just, like, apart. We didn't really have good eating habits apart, so together, we just when we were together, it was just we were just picking up bad things, and I don't know. So that was the first 2 years. So I gained about 15 to 20 pounds. I was going to the gym, but not as much as I could have been going to offset the calorie intake that I was taking in. And then the last 2 years, I roomed with dancers. So that was a completely different environment. I think it was more of an environmental thing for me. And the people that I was around or surrounded myself with, it made it easier to have healthy choices.
Mm-hmm.
So my last 2 years, I did end up losing about 30 pounds because I made better choices. I went to the gym more. I ate less of the bad foods. But yeah, just after that, after leaving college, I just gained. I gained it back. So.
And that's you just hit another interesting point there. And there was a study a while back that came out that looked at body mass index and the average body mass index of somebody's social media network.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that the higher their BMI for their network, the higher their own BMI was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really trying to look at the social influence of, who do you hang out with, who do you socialize with, and you kind of all adapt similar habits. And that's just an interesting little case study right there, how you had two different experiences depending on who were your roommates.
Yeah, that was a definite thing for sure. It really, really influenced, like, even just like waking up and like saying, okay, I'm going to go to the gym today. It was like completely different. Like my lifestyle did like a complete 180.
What was like when it came to the foods? I'm curious to hear what were the major differences for the dance team members versus the roommates you had before.
Well, mostly it was just like they had a lot of pizza, a lot of carbs, like my first year, a lot of noodles and rice, which wasn't really that good. USF has a really good salad bar. They have a lot of healthy foods. They have a lot of restaurants. So, I mean, you can make the conscious decision to eat the way you want to, but so we had carbs. The last 2 years with my other two roommates, it wasn't that they were consciously eating better than when I had my first roommate. It was just like, I think it was more of working out, I think, was the issue.
Yeah, definitely burning more calories.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's one of the other things I talk about in the article. And the people, if you were doing the weight loss method at the clinics that I work with, then you probably learned about how exercise really is not a weight loss tool, but it is a weight maintenance tool. So the more active certainly you can stay while you're in college, the less impact that bad diet's going to have on you. But I'm also hoping that we can get a message out of how those carb-centric foods do impact the way your metabolism functions. And just simple little things that we can do on a college campus. 3 of the tips, I'm going to have a section in this article called 7 college food traps. And I think one of the biggest things is just getting rid of the mindset that bread or starch, some type of processed food like that has to be part of every meal, whether it's a bun or chips or potatoes. I mean, potatoes aren't even one of the worst things, but like bunless burgers. I just had one this evening for dinner, and as soon as you start eating bunless burgers, you're like, buns just kind of ruin burgers. At least that's my perspective, and a lot of people start realizing that. But then to suggest that to a lot of college students, they're probably like thinking, "Oh no, that's weird. Just give me the bun, give me the burger." But just simple things, and then substituting a wrap instead of a big old sandwich that has 1.5-inch thick bread can cut out 10 grams of carbs out of that meal. So I think those are simple things, and nowadays on TV we have so much more going on in terms of Food Network and all these shows, and 11-year-old kids that are on Chopped. and here I am, an adult, a decade plus out of college, and I'm like, God, I'm just learning how to saute a piece of chicken properly. But I think if we could start that stuff earlier and get exposed to it in college. I mean, in college we're already there absorbing and trying to learn, hopefully stuff that's going to benefit us for life. That we can at least reach those who would be open to it and trying to make some changes, and maybe make choices as to who they hang around, where they go to school, choices they make when they go to cafeteria, that kind of stuff. So anyway, Michelle, tell us about your experience.
So Vanessa, Sharon, and I went to the same college, so I echo their sentiment that the baked goods were phenomenally delicious. And I could the whole list if you wanted me to. But and also I echo what Sarah said about how I guess like the people you're around really influence your eating habits. And I guess to add on to that, other than like the crazy schedule kind of making me cut out, I don't know, when it's like your schedule is super, super packed, the first thing you're going to cut out is working out, most likely. So that was obviously the first thing I cut out. It didn't really help that the dining halls and the cafeteria closed at a certain time. And so I guess like when it was past the closing hour, then I would just be like, oh, let's call the first fast food place that comes up on Yelp. Obviously, that doesn't really help with eating habits. And I guess like one more thing I would add would be dating. Dating can really make you gain weight. And I remember gaining, so I lost weight freshman year, and then I got a boyfriend sophomore year, and gained all that weight back, plus a lot more.
Oh, no.
I instantly thought of one of the tips in my article for a healthy snack, which is dark chocolate. Some women would say it could be a better alternative to dating in college. I don't know. My wife would tell you. Men are like a distant second to a good dark chocolate bar.
Oh, that's an interesting concept.
Dating really does.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm curious about, and I didn't really hear anyone really speak to it, and I wonder if this is wishful thinking on my part, but ways that we can impart some tips or skills, if you will, to allow self-preparation or cooking stuff yourself, whether you're in an apartment or a dorm. I know the stuff you have access to can vary widely on campus, but so part of what I'm trying to put together is tips and advice for whatever your situation is, and quick, easy meals you can put together, or simple cooking skills you can learn that might seem intimidating at first, but you give them a try, and if you start learning how to be able to saute a good piece of fish and saute your own vegetables, you'll want to go to the dining hall less and less, because what you make is probably going to be significantly better. But is that just like unrealistic to think that there would be room for students to adapt more of those habits?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, no, you go. It's fine.
I would say you can definitely adapt some of those habits for sure. I think it'd be unrealistic for some people though to say cook every night, because I understand that could be a huge commitment if you're adjusting and moving into a campus and you're not aware of the facilities. And I know a lot of schools require students to be on their meal plan the first year.
Yeah, that was the same for me.
So for me, I would say in that situation, plan ahead. After dieting and losing weight, after I realized the more you try to like anticipate these situations or what you're going to eat, it's better when you plan ahead. So say I'm going to the grocery store, one thing I should have done, and I started doing this later after gaining weight, was make sure that you purchase healthier snacks. Like say you can make kale chips, things like that. They're really good. You just put salt and whatever seasoning you want on them and some olive oil, pop them in a pan in the oven. They're crispy and they're delicious. Or just get like yogurt and fruit, or just something other than those like
popcorn.
Or popcorn,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, because you're going
Mhm.
to eat and you're going to stay up late. So don't kid yourself. Because I know one thing I did. I thought, okay, I'm gonna be skinny and I'm not gonna eat that much and I'm gonna like cut it down. But
Mhm.
Gummy
what
bears
ends
for the
up
whole
happening,
week.
yeah, with like
Yeah.
Taco Bell ramen or pizza orders, like do not kid yourself. Just buy healthy
Mhm.
food.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. But also, like, don't deprive yourself. Like, eat healthy, but okay, this was one of the things we did. For example, we would eat healthy the entire week, and then we had this day. We called it Fat Fridays, where we could eat whatever we wanted, and it didn't matter. And then we would just continue to work out, and it worked. I mean, we maintained our weight, so that was just
Absolutely.
like one of
Yeah.
the things that we.
Yeah.
That's. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would also suggest. So my sister just finished her first year in college, and she kind of learned from my mistakes when it came to food and stuff. I know for her, a big something that made a big difference in terms of food, because she, like many first years, had to be on the dining hall plan, was having a mini fridge in her room, and especially when it came to like going to the grocery store and planning beforehand, like Vanessa said, she would get like fruits and yogurts and stuff and keep that in her fridge, because definitely for her, when I talked to her about this, and I would agree with it, a lot of the unhealthy eating, as like we've also like been talking about here and now, comes from snacking. I would say outside of mealtime. So if you're very good about keeping the right kind of snacks in your room, so that you always have those around to turn to instead of going to the vending machine or going to like the little one cafe place on campus that's open, or ordering in pizza, using your personal stash of food instead and snacking on those, because as Vanessa said, you can't kid yourself. You're gonna be up late, whether it's studying or if it's even, just chatting with your friends all night long. I know especially freshman year that happened a lot, sophomore year as well, as you're trying to like make new friends and adapt to your environment and not just study but also have fun at the same time, because that's what people think the college culture is, and that's what they want out of it more than anything, I would say, is the social aspect.
Yeah. I'm hearing I'm starting to hear some consolidation here and some common answers, and I think the main thing I'm hearing is put some thought into your food, first of all, and planning. Have access to snacks that you know aren't going to spike your blood sugar through the roof, and are going to get you some protein and keep you even, so that when you have those situations, you have something to reach for that you planned on, not whatever came into the night. And that's that's the same even out. That's the same no matter where you're at. When you're in college and you're in careers and you start families and then you get that kind of chaos going, it's the same thing. If I go in the pantries and look in there, how well we eat is directly affected by what we stock those pantries with. So I think hopefully that tells us that there is certainly some things we can do to manage and limit the impact of the freshman 15. Keeping active, and I'm even going to have I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but there's this workout called the Scientific 7-minute workout. And literally, it's a 7-minute circuit training workout. You don't need weights. You don't need anything. You just do it in your living room. You can do it, and you don't even have to change. You don't have to put gym shorts on. And I do it every now and then if I don't have time to get to the gym. And it's hard to believe that it actually kicks your butt pretty good because it's working all your major muscles and stuff. So, literally less than 10 minutes. And according to the study, you only have to do it a few times a week to keep insulin resistance at bay. So it's totally feasible. I think it just requires, like we said, that planning and that thought put into it. I know we got just a couple minutes and you got to go, but one last thing I wanted to get your input on is, the partying. I mean, have you thought, or did you come away from college thinking that like drinking or anything like that was like a major impact on it? Because this is something that, especially beer, gets a bad rap, and I know, a lot of women aren't big beer drinkers, but beer actually gets a bad rap, and I think so does the alcohol and partying in college, because I think if we if we did all these other things and planned for our snacks and avoided some of the overload of carbs in the dining halls, then you wouldn't have to worry so much about those party nights, unless those party nights are every night, and then we probably got another kind of problem going on. You know what I mean, any quick thoughts on that?
I mean, even with the party nights, I know you said like beer is the thing everyone has a stigma against, but from my experience, I mean, girls, a lot of us maybe don't like drinking beer, but we definitely like the fruity wines and the stuff that still has a lot of sugar in it, and we don't even realize it until like a year later you decide to randomly look at the bottle and be like, ooh, what's in here that makes it so good, because someone randomly asked. That happened to me, and I was like, oh my god, like my favorite one has like a lot of sugar in it. Like, this maybe explains a lot. So I mean, trying to be aware of that can be a little helpful. I mean, maybe paying more attention to the type of alcohol you buy. And like, I know it's problematic at the same time, because a lot of alcohols won't necessarily say like the ingredients in it and like the amount of sugar like you would find on other foods with in terms of that. But some of them do. So if you try to look for it and maybe try to keep a notice out for those things, that can be a little helpful.
And I think you hit it on the head earlier too when you said having those good types of snacks around, because what happens when we get drunk and party? I mean, whatever snacks are around, they're going down.
The munchies get you.
Another thing that really gets you are the chasers.
Yeah.
Especially if you're
the dreaded chasers.
If you're a new drinker, you're doing shots. And you're just like, oh, what is this taste? Give me something like Coke or something, or fruit juice. It's just going to add on, especially like the college phase where a lot of people do binge drink, whether it's beer, whether it's like vodka with chasers or not without chasers. I mean, it's just calories upon calories.
So one thing we started doing later on, we started considering like what we were consuming was, okay, well, if you're looking at like when people do alcohol runs, it's like, think about what you're drinking. So instead of maybe doing these random fruity drinks, we would do like a gin and tonic or something like that that would have less sugar. So we try to consciously make a choice to make it better. Also, drinking, I feel like from the freshman year or early on in college, had I known that you should have a glass of water for every drink, not only because it will
that's exactly what I was going to say,
but because you can retain more water, and that those things like help to
and if you ate a protein-rich meal before you went out and party too.
Especially eating beforehand.
Exactly. Like it's not only good. I just thought it was something like, okay, we'll just drink a lot of water at the end so we don't get sick tomorrow. But if I had known that was something that would help keep the weight at bay, that would have definitely helped me change my habits.
I think for sure. The water is a big thing, especially even outside of partying, because in college, I'm sure a lot of people, not just me, are consuming a ton of coffee to kind of keep them going through the day, and you don't realize how much that's dehydrating you, and I know that also affects like how your body's like digesting all the foods and stuff that goes in. So just remembering to drink water, I think all around can make a huge difference, and also make you feel a lot better. I know once I started doing that later in my college years, that it definitely was an impact for me.
Oh, for sure,
Definitely a good point. Well, thank you all. I appreciate it. We've come up on our half hour here, and I think that was a pretty productive discussion. So I wish you all the best, and again, thanks so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.